It's pretty wild when you think of porn. I mean, saying it now, no one's probably even shocked. There's 420 million pornographic websites on the internet. A third of all unsolicited emails contain porn. I mean, it's crazy. 1 out of every 3 people that look at porn are women. The average age someone sees this is 11. And 48% of pastors have struggled with this. And it's one of the fastest growing addictions among senior citizens. So that's pretty wild. If you go, okay, 11 senior citizens, men, women, pastors, I mean, nobody's exempt, nobody's immune. This stuff doesn't discriminate. It can get to any of you. I grew up in a Christian home pretty much as long as I can remember. I had to go to church, not just church, but like Sunday night church. And I remember fighting my parents about going to church for as long as I could remember. And then my youth pastor came up to me and he just said, hey, why don't we start meeting on Wednesday mornings before school? I mean, I don't like the mornings. I didn't really like him, and I didn't like youth groups. But I said yes. And that 2 years of meeting with him, my last 2 years of high school, I think changed my life. Best friend kind of growing up was younger than me, but he was discipled by the same youth pastor, went on the same mission trip, kind of felt the same call to youth ministry. And so both of us end up down in Southern California studying youth ministry together. We're sitting one day and we had this crazy idea for a speaking ministry. I was kind of this crazy creative guy. He was a dynamic speaker. We just both said, like, we don't want to be 40 and talk about the good old days when we could have done this and what would have been like. And I think that's the beauty. When you're young, you're crazy, you're kind of stupid. I mean, I was getting married, didn't know about starting a ministry, how that's going to all play out, how am I going to get paid, raising money, a budget. I didn't know any of that. But you're dumb enough to like believe that, hey, you can do this. And enough people around us were like, hey, why don't you guys quit and go pursue this ministry full time? And then we wrote this talk, me and Jake, on porn back in 2000. And let me just tell you about the year 2000. There was no Google. MySpace hadn't been invented. And so MySpace is already dead and gone by now. And so this is before that. And this is back in like the AOL dial-up internet days. But there was still porn. And porn back then was still easier than porn was to find when I was a kid. So we saw all these kids struggling with like this issue of pornography. And we set out to say, hey, let's do something about this. So XXXchurch.com was started in 2002 underneath Fireproof Ministries as this kind of, hey, here's a website that we can direct all these kids that we speak to. We can say, hey, if you are struggling with this issue, here's a resource online to go check out. But we received a lot of attention because the first day we launched XXXchurch.com, we launched at a trade show that was an adult trade show, a porn show. So immediately, like, you took a side to where you stood with XXX Church. Oh, this sounds great, but I don't know if I believe or can support the ministry that actually goes into that kind of, sinful area and has a presence. We have these Bibles that say Jesus loves porn stars. And we started just talking to people. And so instantly that drummed up all sorts of controversy. And I mean, we never could imagine the response. Even people write me all the time saying, I hate your website. I hate your name of your website, but I love what you do. That's the best place to be when there's controversy, when there's not everybody agreeing with what you're doing. I mean, look at Jesus's life. Like, what's he doing here? What's he doing with that person? Why is he having Zacchaeus over to his house? I mean, that guy's a sinner. Jesus got this kind of stuff all day long. So it's finding that balance for us is key. Like, I don't want to water down the message. I don't want people in the industry to hate us, but I mean, we don't like their product, but I want to be in their circles to be able to talk to people that buy their products. Yeah, when we first went to the show, I mean, we had no idea how the news works and like, how do you get on TV or get a story written? I remember that the newscaster came by from the local ABC and he says, this is interesting. How did they let you in here? We're just like, well, we just have a website, and we told them what we do. And he put us on the news, and the next day the LA Times came by, and they put us on the front page of the LA Times, and that opened up the gates to just like a crazy world that we weren't ready for, but we've responded, I think, well over the last 10 years to saying, hey, we're gonna catch up. We've got to allocate more time, more resources, more staff to this issue, because this issue is not going away. We've hit a chord, we've struck something with people on an issue that has been silent. I don't think there's a bigger issue than this. And our ministry has done 1,000+ events at churches over the last 10 years now. Most of that coming in the last 6, because it took us a while to get kind of the church opened up. You know, we had a couple big churches and pastors embrace us in 2005 that said, hey, we should talk about this on a Sunday. And then that spearheaded this whole crazy movement where we're now able to talk about this on Sunday mornings. Like, I talk to, more of probably your parents than I do you guys now, because it's, we're invited into some of these craziest churches where I go, how did I get here in the middle of nowhere, the most conservative church, worse than the one I grew up at, and you guys want me to talk about porn? And they go, yeah, because this is an issue that we know is even going on in our church. There's a kid actually in my youth group before I even did this that I kind of worked with and tried to maybe not return the favor from my youth pastor, but like start discipling him and mentoring him. And I remember this was a huge struggle of his. And so we came out with the software. That was just kind of a no-brainer. Hey man, put the software on, I'll keep you accountable, I'll ask you those tough questions. And what it did was it allowed us to have a conversation about a topic otherwise we probably would have skipped over. And one of the things that I've learned is if you can talk about porn with somebody, you can talk about just about anything else. So I felt like, hey, we'd been tracking and we've been able to help him just because of our honesty in this friendship. Found out that even though like I thought we were honest, like he wasn't honest. And then I remember I sat him down at my house and I was just like, dude, you need to get help. Oh no, I won't lie to you anymore. I got the no, this is beyond software. This is like, you need to go somewhere for 6 months, and I know where. And it's in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky. And it's a place for sex and porn addicts. And just a huge turning point for him, I think, was trusting me enough to actually say, okay, I'll go. And first day he goes there, and he called me from the payphone, and he said, yeah, a guy that was 64, 65 years old. First words out of his mouth were, I wish I was here when I was your age, instead of wasting my whole life. I can share this facts and share with people all day long, but ultimately it's like, it's not gonna work unless you want it to work, unless you really wanna cry out for help. And after doing this for so many years, you'd think I'd learn, like, hey, if you don't want help, I'm not gonna give you anything, but I'll still go there, I'll still try, and I'll still fight. We'll still spend what we can to try and help you. But then it comes down to like, you don't want it, and you're gonna do what you want. And oftentimes you're gonna lose everything. And it's been those moments, like I'm not a quitter, I'm not gonna quit. There's been days where I've wanted to, and it's all revolves around like those issues of people close to me that have gone down this way. And I mean, I just got a letter from jail from a guy that used to bring Craig and Jake Live into his youth group. But now he's made a decision that involved underage kid that has landed himself in jail. You know, I did a funeral for a friend of mine that took his own life because he got caught, saved his marriage, she stayed with him, but then got caught again and didn't think he could go through it and committed suicide and left his 3 kids and his wife. And like, I literally had no words at the funeral. And that was a day that I just thought, man, what am I doing? I could go do something else, anything but this. It's funny, we're celebrating this year a 10-year anniversary for XXX Church. Fireproof's going for 13, 14 years. Ron Jeremy is a porn star. But he's also a friend of mine, and he's 59 years old. He's been in porn for 35 years of his life. and he's filmed 2,200 X-rated videos. He's like the man in those videos. And he's claimed to have sex with 5,000 women. So a company approached me and said, Ron is the porn king. We kind of hear you're the porn pastor. So what about doing a debate? It's not about the debate, it's about this friendship that I've had with Ron. Even though we're opponents on stage, I think the message of Jesus unites. God's given me that opportunity. And I think the challenge isn't to just go through the 4 spiritual laws with them. Like, isn't just to, memorize some scriptures and spit it out at them. But over time, like, be consistent in your faith. Keep showing up in their lives. But beyond quitting porn, I hope he surrenders his life to Jesus. I feel like we've been given this megaphone, a pretty loud one, and we want to share this message with as many people as possible. So we're going to use social media, we're going to use the internet, we're going to use news media, we're going to use any sort of technology. We're going to go just about anywhere we can be invited to share this message. We're not going to water it down. We're not going to protest, and we're not going to jump into legislation. And I don't understand all that stuff, and I don't think it works. So what we're going to do is treat people as normal human beings and let them know that there's something better than porn. My name is Craig Gross, and this is The Truth, and now I dare you to live it.